So, okay, we're now recording. Welcome everyone. I believe this is the fourth Q&A session for Family Book Creator. Well, why don't we just open up the questions for whoever's got questions. So, or else we've got some that someone, this Patty Atkins had posted because she probably can't make it. So, anyone want to go first? Any questions?
I've got a question. I've just recently done a book for a friend, and it was just going back a few generations, but it produced 750 pages in Family Book Creator. So I did it as a master and documents, you know, master document, sub-documents. But when I printed it, it started each sub-document with the pages started at 1 again. I mean, is that a word thing, or is it something I can fix in Family Book Creator?
I believe that's just a word thing. Like, you don't print out all the documents individually. I think you have to open up the first start document. And then print from there. Then I believe the page numbers will be all correct.
Right, sorry.
And yeah. if you've got like what is it, Word like 2016 or higher?
Yeah, I have. I've got the 365.
Yeah, well then you really don't have to do those master and sub documents.
It's just that my computer kept freezing because it kept saying not responding because it was such a big document. I mean, maybe I have got quite a lot of RAM and I've got quite a big hard drive. It just didn't. It just seemed unwieldy. That's why I went for the.
Oh yeah, that is another reason to use those then.
Yeah.
But as far as the page numbering, if you insert those sub documents into the one document, and then when it's all in there, you get Word to repaginate, to recalculate the page numbers and the table of contents, then it'll come out as one.
Okay.
Right. I think you'll save a lot of time if you update the fields after the document is made.
Right.
Don't do it during the creation process because that will take a lot of time for it to do those updates, but you could do them afterwards. I've made books up to 30,000 pages in one document, but and it works fairly well.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's just a case of me not reading the instructions on Word then. Okay.
I think there's a option, I think, then it's a little tricky of how you combine the multi-documents in Word.
Oh, right. Okay.
So then they will paginate properly. But I think it's in the help file of how that.
No, it's not described in the help file. You need to search for master source documents for Word documentation. So this is how Word is going to combine them. So you open the master document and go in preview mode, and then you can expand all documents. So then Word does automatically load the subdocuments, and then you can also do the page pagination for the whole document. So,
right.
Yes, you need to start from the master document. So,
right.
It's not correct to print each document individually. This is a wrong thing, so to say. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
But the new version of Word can handle very large documents now, where the older versions before 2016 could not. And then you had to use sub documents.
Yeah.
Or if you're not going to edit it, you could do PDF output.
I did try that, but some of the pictures, I'd made all the pictures in like with the largest I could do, but for some of the certificates it seemed to cut off the edges, and that's why I like to do it in Word so that I can just check through it and not like make sure nothing's been cut off. Again, it's probably my user problem that's not the pictures in Family Tree Maker aren't maybe cropped properly or whatever. I've been using Family Book Creator for 2 or 3 versions, 17 and the one before that, the original. But it's just that I seem to be just going from on blind luck, if you know what I mean. I don't seem to understand the enormity of what it can do. I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it. But it's such a powerful piece of software. I think I seem to be doing it blindly.
Yeah. Well, when I do a book that I'm gonna, start printing out, like say, like I got a family reunion coming up, I'll like just do the first pass, like make it like a PDF.
Yeah.
And then online, then or on my computer, then I can proofread it, especially like with the media. It's like, oh, this media needs to be bigger.
Yeah.
Or smaller, or maybe, okay, this media doesn't need to print at all, or in some few cases, there's been stuff where it's like, well, I know I've got this picture, why isn't it printing? And
yeah,
it can be, and usually it might be like a PDF file that I forgot to set the proper media categories for it to print.
All right.
Let me show you this option in Family Book Creator on the options. Let's see if this works or not. Okay, do you see my screen here?
Yeah.
Sure do.
And then right here is I'm using Word as my output format, file format, and then turn this off if you have that turned on.
Oh, right.
And then don't create master subdocuments.
Okay.
But then what this means with that off is you'll have to update those fields once the document is made. But it occurs much faster after the document is made than in the other part of the process.
All right. I need to take notes here now.
And likewise, shortly after this meeting, it will be up on YouTube too, so you can watch it again too.
Okay. Right.
Then there's new date formats too, for if no one knows, or if you haven't used them yet, for how you format your dates, which is nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, and that's in this new build 606. In this, I believe this also applies to the 2017 Family Book Creator 2017, if I'm not mistaken. But only the English version. Yeah, well, yeah, it says only output in English language.
And then also, if you're still in the initial phases of making books like John was mentioning, if you turn off the albums initially, you can get your text done, look at that, those sorts of things. The creation of the book is very fast without the media. And then later you can turn the media on and then look at the book that way.
Find it feasible to make a specific tag, I'll say tag, the kind of pictures that you want to be associated with that person, that you might have lots and lots of pictures for a person, but only one or two of them included. Would you have another tag for, I don't know, photo album John Smith or something like that, that you could exclude or include and exclude the others? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, that answers one of the questions Patty had for how you can exclude certain photos.
So my screen's still being shown. Let me turn on the photo album. And then you can do an exclude filter. This exclude filter is based on, if you're familiar with categories in Family Tree Maker, media categories. So for example, let's say I don't want to see census images. And then I would say exclude all images that have the category of census. Or you could privatize certain media, or give them a give them a media classification, and then exclude that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right above here, that census, there's that include private, which he has unchecked. So it's like if you make the media private, then it won't print by default. If you sync the tree with Ancestry, then it would remove that from Ancestry. So that might be an issue, but
I know it.
I've got a category that just says like do not print. So if there is a certain picture that I know I don't want printed in any book, I'll assign it to that category, and then I know it won't print.
It seems it's almost like you've got to do most of the work in Family Tree Maker as a groundwork. For instance, all the place names. I'm spending hours going through all my major files, going through all the place names and categorizing them. As I've spent years putting like the address in the place name, and now I'm taking all that out because it doesn't print. It doesn't work so well in Family Book Creator. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like the first time you do it, you do have to find out what works best for you for how you want the book to print.
Unfortunately, when you've got 10,000 names with 10,000 places, it takes a long time to go back through it.
Yeah.
The thought of starting again though, it just fills me full of fear.
Well, you can do that fairly quick in the media or in the places section, or when you edit a place in Family Tree Maker. Just a minute here. Let me see if I can get this set. I think it's going to share more of my screen here. Maybe not.
Yeah. We can see Family Tree Maker in the background now.
Okay. And then one thing is in the indices is to use this format for how it lists them in the book. Are you where the largest segment and then a smaller and a smaller and a smaller is used. So that puts all of, if you're using country names in your places, country will all be shown first in the index. Then the borough or state, or I know however your municipal or segments.
County.
Yeah. And then county, city, township, whatever.
Yeah.
If you put them in the book this way, you'll see everything together.
Yeah.
And then this is one thing where I find a lot of my places aren't consistent. So then I can go into, let me exit out of here. I can go into places. You can see I have addresses, or not addresses, but like old, back when counties weren't counties yet, but let's see here. Like here's Monroe County, Mississippi. I may have a name that's in here twice. Let me see if I can find one. So like right here's one. See Ada, Pontotoc County, Oklahoma. And then I have it without the county name. So this could be associated, it's associated with all these 6 people over here, but I could edit that and then combine it with, let's say if I wanted the county name present. So I can replace with another place name.
Oh.
And then say yes, and now hopefully it's all together.
Oh, I've been doing it a really slow way then.
Now, if you do it through the person page, let's say like let me go here. If you do it here, you could do it here, and let's say I want to remove county out of the name, and I want to do it hopefully for everybody who's got this. If I make the edit here, now it's going to ask me, do I want to change all instances or just this one? It's associated to 3 facts. If I say all instances, now every instance of that name has county removed.
Oh.
Now let's say I want to put it back in because I like to use county names. And then it's going to ask me the same thing, and here are all instances, and now it's fixed.
Well, thank you very much.
So that could speed up your, and then you can see here, I have a lot of areas where I need some cleanup.
No.
That's the nature of the data, I guess.
Yeah.
And you get different place names when you're merging records too, so you have to be careful.
Yeah, so a lot of cases now there's township is being abbreviated. Like you can see Adams Township here, where township is abbreviated. I'll need to fix that. It's given the post office name, which is not necessarily where the person, that location wasn't where the person lived.
No.
But then you can see here's a different version of the same thing without township. But these occurred from, I would guess, from web merge from Ancestry. And then I'll have to go in and clean up those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Family Book Creator helps you to find those problems. And then if you do the reverse order of the sorting, that'll help you out a lot. In this case here, all the USAs are going to be together. Then Indiana, then Carroll, then Adams, and then here I'll see these 2 entries in the index. I can easily see, oh, well, those are different. I need to fix one of them in Family Tree Maker. And then regenerate the book again and see that it did what I thought I did.
And additionally, if I may interrupt you, it depends. Did you add your address as place detail in Family Tree Maker, or did you not mark it as place detail? Do you know what I mean with place detail? Any idea?
I do that now. I live in Grimsby in Lincolnshire in England. So if I have somebody that lives, I don't know, my parents, 29 West Hill Road, I put Grimsby, Lincolnshire, England, and then in the detail, I'll write 29 West Hill Road. Is that right?
Yeah, but do you do it with within the place workspace? Maybe I can share my screen and show what I mean. So you can see it. Okay, here we go. Do you see now? No, just wait a second. Share the screen. Now you should see my screen. Okay. So for example, I have Rose here, Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy, and for example, I can do something with place detail, maybe for the burial fact type. I think I have it somewhere, burial. Yeah. So right now, the cemetery name, for example, is here in the description field.
Yeah.
What I could do is I could place it just like an address. So we think it's now like an address, part of the place. And now Family Tree Maker is okay. Do you want to change all this? I will only change this instance just to show it how it's working. And now Family Tree Maker does not recognize this place name.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing. If you add an address, Family Tree Maker will not recognize it. But if you try to resolve the place name, you can say place the first segment by using this arrow, move the first segment to the place detail. Now it's here in the place detail. And when I click on replace, it still looks the same here inside the place field for this burial fact, but it's handled in a different way by Family Tree Maker and also by Family Book Creator. And in Family Book Creator, you can say, should such a place detail be handled as a place detail, or should it be handled like an additional segment from this place information, right? So it's an additional detail. And there are I think there are 2 locations where I can specify it, or at least one. I think it's here on options, how places are handled, and there is use place details always as place segments. So when you entered the details as real details, you can uncheck this box, and then it's not included in the place index, for example. Right? Then you still have only the place part in the place index and not the address part.
I might have to play around with that.
Yeah. So this is an additional option.
As place segments.
I think most people are not aware of this.
No. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay.
We come to exhibitions. I was at Roots Web last year, but there's so many people there and it's so noisy, and you've got to remember all the questions that you want to ask. It's quite difficult.
That's true. So I will stop the screen sharing now.
Yeah.
It seems like the two biggest roadblocks to me getting a book that I like, one is understanding all the options that are in Family Book Creator. The other is fixing all the mistakes I've made in Family Tree Maker for years.
Mhm.
And so going back and making those changes,
Totally
program
agree.
works fine once I put garbage in, garbage out.
No.
This is hard. This is hard to do when you're first starting, but then really how you enter your data is really important.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
later the cleanup needed can be pretty big.
Yeah, now when I enter in stuff, you know, I specifically think, okay, how will this eventually print? You know, it's like I just always keep that in the back of my mind. So it's like, you know, even things, you know, where on the cause of death fact, where, you know, I wasn't, sometimes I would put like a lengthier explanation. Sometimes, you know, I'd capitalize, you know, oh, heart attack, you know, with a capital H and A, and, but then how it prints out, you know, it's like it's part of the cause of death was, you know, such and such. So it's like, okay, I'll lowercase and, you know.
Ah, right.
So it's like, so it's just important to just be consistent the way you do stuff, you know, on the certain fact types. And each fact type you can tweak exactly how you want it, but you just have to be consistent at how you enter in the data for it. And
That's exactly the word I was going to say, John, be consistent, because over 1,000 people, if I've done it 12 different ways, I'm not going to like it when it comes out in a book.
right.
There are so many possibilities in Family Tree Maker to record data in different ways, right?
Right.
Nobody knows which is the correct way, and everybody finds his own correct way. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And,
I have a question.
And the correct
for
way for
example,
me changes from when I started until now.
yeah, that's for example why I just showed this cemetery name, and I like to place it just in the description field, because I can select how description fields should be shown, or this fact description style. And this is really useful for all this detailed information about places or additional information for a fact. Yeah, but everybody does it in a different style, right?
Yeah.
I have a question, if I may. I recorded an interview with my mother a long time ago, and I'm pretty well finished her book. She's still living, fortunately. She's happy with the proof, but I just wanted to ask, I've put her transcript in a forward because I think it's, well, it must be about 30 pages just of her transcript of her story. And it didn't really fit in the book. It just seemed to fit better there. Has anybody else had an experience where they've, transcribed an oral history and included it in the book?
I've done some where I put it with that person, the notes in the person notes. Let me see if I can find it. And then it will be at the start of that person's section. Rather than having it at the very start of the start of the book. So for example, here, let's see here. Let me see if I can share my screen again. All right. All right, is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so then here in the person notes is where I have the note of Richard here. And this was one of my wife's ancestors, but it gives the account of him coming into Kentucky with Daniel Boone's son, and of course they were killed in a massacre in 1773. But then if I start with Richard as the start of the book and a descendant book, this will be in his section under his name versus being in a foreword or an introductory type section.
Mm-hmm.
And so then these notes can be very long. I don't know offhand what the limit is of the notes, but they can be very long.
Mm-hmm.
And so I keep this here versus say putting it in the forward.
Okay.
If it's it depends. She may be talking about to her parents or something, but if it's her narration, I may put it here in person notes.
Okay, that's a good alternative. I'll give it a try.
Or you may add a media element as Microsoft Word document format, so you can record the story as a Word document
Mm-hmm.
and show them the content of the Word document inside the media section for this family.
Okay.
So like for this one, here's a similar thing of here's a PDF file of this account that could be included in the book too, if you wanted to have that actual image versus just the text narration.
Right. Well, I do. Obviously, I have lots of photos of her. It's her book. It's ancestry of her name, and then I did have it in with her section, but it just didn't seem to flow properly.
So you could try it there. If you could paste the note into this person note section, generate the book, see how it looks, and
I guess the decision.
Like it, you remove it.
Sorry, the decision making was because she has an older sister. The older sister comes first in the book, and I didn't feel that was right because this is a book about her. It's primarily for her. It was a present for her. So with the way that it prints out, her sister comes first in the book, and I didn't like that. So then I moved it to the forward.
So you're starting with what, the parents? Her parents, maybe?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Parents, then with older sister, and then her. So she seemed a bit buried.
Start with her.
Start with her.
Yeah. Or Stefan mentioned you can put it in a Word document, have that print, but then there's media categories you can assign. And in the file section, there's this text file called FBC Media Categories.txt. That's in the file section of the FBC group.
Yes.
And I created this list of all these categories.
Yes.
And with 2019, you can assign, say, the Word document FBC handle story as text. And then you can say, okay, do it like before family chart or after family chart. So on the book where the family tree, you can have that document print either right before the family tree or right after, and then it will go on to, the parents and listing. And then if you're doing the book, I don't know if you're doing it, maybe attach it to like your parents, one of the parents. And then that way, then that would print first, and then it would go into.
I like that idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. For the family charts that it has in Family Book Creator, it seems like the only option is to include it for every single married couple or not at all. What if I wanted to include family charts for certain people? For example, I'm doing the descendant report of my second great-grandfather. He had 11 children and 7 of them had descendants, but I don't want to include the family charts for each successive generation past that. Is that a possibility?
Right now, it's not possible to select for which families you would like to see the chart or whatnot. But I have similar requests already on my enhancement list, so maybe it's coming someone. It's just not has just not been implemented so far.
Thank you.
Yeah. So like right now, if you'd save it in like docx format, you could delete the charts from the people that you wouldn't want to. It does have the option, like if someone had, like, say, multiple spouses, and say, okay, maybe you don't want the family tree charts for the other spouses, there is an option to only have it do it for the preferred spouse. And that, I believe, is
yeah, but this option is not just for the family chart. It's for generating a whole family section.
Yeah, it'd only generate the family section for the preferred spouse. So, but any more questions? Or I've got a few posted ones here.
I had another question along the lines of when you start sending this stuff off to print through a publisher to have copies made for families, is that something that you need to include, like on a title page, this book was produced through a family book creator with like a commercial license or anything of that sort? Is there kind of a standard template for that, or is that necessary at all?
Not necessary.
Okay.
So it's your choice. If you would like to give some credit to family book creator, I would say thank you. Yeah?
I usually blame family book creator.
I have a question about military service. I have about 50, 60 relatives that served in probably 20 to 30 different wars. And I'd like to conclude a section somehow in the book about the people who served in different wars, but then I'd like to have a description of the wars. Now, in some cases, 3, 4, 5 people, like the Civil War or the Revolutionary War. I don't want that repeated with each person that did participate in that war. So how would you handle something like that, where you could have a description of each of the wars and then a printout list of the 50 or 60 people that were in these various wars?
Well, you could actually do the report in probably Family Tree Maker. There's a variety of ways.
I have done that. I have printed out just the specific list in Family Tree Maker, which I could obviously add that as a Word file, but I'm thinking of the description of all the wars.
Well, if you'd save it as, say, a PDF or something, you could. You want, like, here's everyone that was in the Civil War. Here's everyone that was in, like, World War I. That's what you're asking.
Yeah. So there's a lot of weird, strange war, like the Indian Wars and the Mystic Massacre and all these different small wars. And so I want to be able to describe each war. And I may have one person.
I would generate additional chapters in the Word document. So you should generate a Word document and add just an additional chapter where you start describing these different war scenarios and the people who attended. So right now there's no specific feature for such a scenario in Family Book Creator. Of course, you can create for every war a Word document, link it to all people who attended, and it would only print the first time it is used in the book, and then you can get cross-references from the other individuals. This would be a possibility, but I think it's not looking that good. So I think if you add additional chapters by utilizing Word, it would be much better.
Okay. And then I could specify to add it into the, say, at the end of at the end of the final Descendant, just before the index.
You could insert a new chapter in Word before or at the end of the book, maybe after the last Descendant, or you can even do it the other way around. You can also add it before the first chapter of family members is shown, right? So it depends if you have additional information, or you can also add it as a kind of appendix to the end of the book. So it's your choice. Okay. So in Word, you can do everything you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, I'll try that. What about titles of your books? I mean, obviously you can title the book Descendants of, Ancestors of.
Yeah, right now there's no field where you can specify a different title. But yes, it's also on the list of enhancement requests.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you are not the only one who would like to change the title.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So right now, if you would like to change the title in the header or footer of your book, you need to modify the header or footers inside the book document in Word as well. So this, you could do a kind of search and replace to automatically insert your own book title.
Okay.
Using Word.
So would that go each page, like if it was 200 pages, it would go 200 times to find and replace?
Yeah, it will automatically do search and replace in headers and footers as well. That's possible.
Okay, okay, that might be an idea. Great. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, one question that someone had posted earlier is, I want to create a book that has both ancestors and descendants in it, of both your mom and dad in one book. What is the best way to go about that? Someone had posted a thing on the Family Book Creator Word document that basically gives a work through on it. Let me just, yeah. Let me just. Get to the Facebook group here. You're seeing the Family Book Creator private group right now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, then in files here, it is, yeah, creating a combined Descendants and Ancestors book. Because essentially, you basically just create the Descendants book and then create the Ancestors. When I've done it, I've actually created 2 ancestor books. One for my dad, one for my mom. And then it's a Descendants book for both of them. And then you just copy and paste them all into one document, and you don't have to worry about the table of contents or the indexes because they're generated sections. And then it seems to me there's like one page that gets duplicated of, you know, my parents' descendants. So it's like you just remove those couple duplicate pages. But this PDF document kind of gives you a walkthrough on how to do that. So, and then I've even done like some other similar stuff where you take sections from a variety of books and combine it. But it's, since the hidden fields have all the people's names, the places' names, that's how the indexes all combine and whatnot. So that is how that's done, Patty. Has anyone got some other questions?
And John, I did exactly what you just said. I did one for myself and my ancestors, my wife and her ancestors, and then for our kids. And we're good. It means spending a little time if you don't remember how Microsoft Word does those things. But it's pretty straightforward once you know where to look.
Right. And Patty also asked, how do you name media and family tree maker so it's pleasing in the FBC format? Well, that's just kind of up to you as to what's pleasing. Let me, because you can tell it which fields you want to print. I'm starting up Family Book Creator right now. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, because now, in the photo album is, here you can tell it, whether you want to include the caption name, and you don't have to include it at all. The date, the notes, description, you have the option of what fields you want to display, and you don't have to display any of them if you don't want to. So usually I don't necessarily display the caption because that's not necessarily relevant, but I'll include the description and where those fields are. Let me just start sharing my screen. Because here on the right hand is for a media picture. Well, right now I don't have any, but here's the caption field over here, the date, the description, and this tab right over here would be where the note is. So that's where those various fields are. So what you put in them is what will print, and you have the option of which of those, any and all of these fields that you want printed. So, yeah, then Patty also asked, how do you keep all your media from transferring over to your FBC book? And James already covered that by using those media categories to exclude, like the census categories. And then the last question is, how do you include only the individuals that you want to be in your book? For instance, you might not want to apply the same rules across the board. And she gives an example, like her Aunt Mary was married 5 times. She only had kids from one of the husbands. And, so three of the husbands she doesn't want mentioned at all. Well, that you can use, you can enable the you have to enable the privacy, even though you don't have to have it do anything. And then you can use this FBC media category, FBC privacy protection. And this is covered in the manual. It's near the end. And let me just expand that out, because there is the FBC privacy protection fact, and then you can just give it the value. You create this fact type in Family Tree Maker, and then you just give it a value of suppress. So here in this tree here, let me get out of Family Book Creator. You go edit, manage facts. And then you can this is why I created the text file, is so I can just copy and paste, because the spelling is specific. It only needs to have a description. And then so on this person, okay, this Mary was married twice. Well, let's just say maybe this first husband she doesn't want mentioned at all. So you just go to that person. You add the FBC privacy protection fact. If you'd put suppress, then now this person will not be mentioned in the book. So if they would have had a child, it would have just said by some unknown, ungiven name person. But since there's no children here, this Jeffrey would not print now. And then there are other options here, you know, so maybe you don't want it, maybe the person's living or something, you know, you could just say private or reduce, so it just mention their name, but not when they're born and stuff like that. So this would be good, you know, if it's only a handful of people, you know, if you said, well, there's 500 people I don't want printed, well, that'd be a lot of work, in which case then I'd say detach that person or detach that branch you don't want printed, and then generate the book and then reattach them. So but so well, any more questions? So and Michael, we're just
John, this is Bernie. I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
For Stefan, for the FBC users guide, where, for example, that one you just went through, the problem I've always had sometimes with some of those sneaky categories is it would be useful to have an example to show the detail. The detail on that one for me was those values have to be in the description.
Yes.
And if you don't catch that, you know how to assign a person a category, but then I might end up sending a query on Facebook that says, where do I put the values? And I had the same problem on something similar. So in the future, FBC users guide, maybe have consider some examples of stuff like that. Especially, and the same thing with the media category we talked about earlier, of how to exclude or include pictures of PDFs and things like that. So just a few examples would be useful.
I got it.
Okay.
Are you aware of the FAQ section on my website? Sometimes there are also some examples.
Okay.
But yes, for the privacy, there's no example. And the most or the issue with the user guide is that most people do not read any user guides at all. So,
good point. Point taken.
But yeah, I got your idea. So the problem is the user guide covers the tools which are available.
Yeah.
It does not provide how to use the tools, right?
Maybe another approach would be just having a little example document or a file or something, separate place. You're right, but some people don't look it up.
I think instead of enhancing the user guide, I would invest my time in creating video tutorials.
Yeah, perfect. Bingo, I like it.
There's not enough time, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You got the point, right?
Thank you.
I have a question along those same lines of suppressing certain people from the book that we just talked about. I know I could individually go through and do this, and I brought it up in the Facebook group. I just don't know if it got across as a submission request for a new edition. If I wanted to exclude the parents of in-laws, I've included a lot of parents of in-laws in my tree just because there's been times where that's led me to find pedigree collapse in certain areas. So I don't want to go through and delete the parents of in-laws necessarily, but I want to be equitable across the book and not have parents of in-laws for some people and not in other places. If there'd be a possibility to have those people excluded just as an option on the creator.
Right now you have those in-laws only in the index of individuals, or where do you see them? You see them in the index of individuals and in the family charts.
Yeah, it would be in the index of individuals, correct. Yeah,
okay.
In
for
the
index of
main
individuals,
text.
For the index of individuals, there would be the possibility to exclude people from the chart. Maybe I can show this. I think I'm sharing my screen now. Or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. There should be on the index panel one option to not include the names listed in the family charts. And then you only would include everybody who is mentioned inside the narrative section. So this will remove then your in-laws as well. Include names from family charts. That's the option. If you unselect or clear this checkbox, you won't get everybody from the charts. Then only people who are mentioned inside the narration are going to get index entry.
Well, and I guess that works well, but they still are mentioned in the narrative section. For example, you know, so-and-so married this person, that person is the daughter of, and then it lists the two.
Isn't this still important information? So you mentioned before you do not want to have the grandparents of the in-laws and all of the married people included, right? Or did I get it wrong?
Sorry, just the parents of the in-laws.
Okay, then there's no option.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I would not exclude such important information.
Okay.
Why do you not want to show this?
Yeah, I guess I have it for some people, but if I went through and tried to create that for the entire descendant report group, it would almost double the size of my tree. So it might be included in some places, but not in others.
Yeah.
So I should add something to the list of enhancement requests.
Yeah. Generally, spouses, parents. I usually enter in that information in the person notes field, just because I don't want those people necessarily in my tree itself.
Now, the difficulty of that too is if there's children of that couple, they probably want to know their, let's say, mother's parents, for example. So having just their names is beneficial, depending, of course, on the audience. And
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So. Any more questions?
Hi, I have a question that might have been covered. Sorry to be late. I get the time wrong here on the West Coast. So thank you guys, by the way, for doing this. This is really great. So you probably covered some media things. This might have been covered. So if you have media that is attached to, say, a couple, like say my grandfather and his spouse, and at least the way I have it is you have the two of them together, and then you have, after some details, then you have the media, but it's the media for both the person, the grandfather, and the spouse. Is there a way to have it so that the media stays with, say, that's attached to the grandparent, stays with the grandparent, and then when you have his spouse, that the media that's attached to the spouse is with them, if you know what I mean? So it's separated and it's not just like part of the family. Does that make sense?
Do you mean separated in a different chapter, or do you just want to specify a kind of preferred family section where you want to see this media element?
Yeah, I want to specify where, maybe that's the best way, is where I want the media to display. And what is the best way to do that?
So if I got it correct, the media is a shared media of a couple, and there's also a third individual attached to this media, or did I get it wrong?
Yeah, well, some media is attached to the husband and some media is attached to the wife, but at least when, and maybe I have a wrong setting, all the media is together. You got the couple, and then all the media, whether it's for the husband or the wife, is together. And I'd like to have the media that's attached to the husband be with the husband, and then the media that's attached to the wife, the spouse, be with the spouse.
Yeah,
as it displays.
So right now you only have one family section,
Yes.
And there's only one photo album for the whole family section.
Right.
And the sorting is by default that you got the media of the primary individual first, followed by the media for the spouse. And then there's also media shared by both of them.
Right.
And there is no heading or headline in between which says this is media of the spouse or media of the couple or something.
Right.
And do you just want to get them separated in different photo album sections, or what's your idea?
Yeah, I want to have like the media that's attached, because it does go by family, right? So the media that is attached to the one person, say my grandfather, and you give all the facts, and then have the media, and then his spouse, you give all her facts, and then have the media that's attached to her, so that it's broken up a little bit. Does that make sense? And again, I might have a setting wrong.
No, right now there is just not an option to do that. So
okay. Well, that was really my question then. So it is kind of
there's just one combined photo album right now.
Right. So I guess if I did Word, I could move it around in Word if I wanted to, right? Basically.
Sure, you can do something in Word.
Yeah.
But,
cool.
Maybe it's something that I may think about. So if you like, you may send me your example how you would like to, have it layout or formatted in Word, and send it just to support@familybookcreator.com, and maybe I'll get a better idea about the result you would like to see.
Okay, thank you very much. And while I have you, just one other question that I don't think is a feature yet. Could you start a book when you're generating a new book, could you start with a specific page number other than one? The reason I'm thinking of that is, and I know you can have like sub documents and a master document. I'm just learning. I'm new to this basically. But I kind of know what I want to do, and it would be great if I had, like, let's say I had all the descendants of a person on my one grandparent side, and then I have another book that's the descendants on another grandparent side. And I know I can just put them together, but if I could start, say the first book was pages 1 to 50, and then I wanted to start a second book, and I said, start this book at page 51. That would allow kind of things to flow together. And for me, that would be easier than all the sub books, if you will. Is that a feature, or could that be a feature?
Well, in a sense, first off, if you're like combining two books in Word, you don't necessarily have to worry about page numbers, because Word will automatically renumber them.
But how about all the indexes and all that kind of stuff?
But starting here from like the title page here doesn't have a title thing, but like starting from colophon, you can tell it what type of page numbers. You can even, you can restart the page numbers.
Oh, okay. That I didn't. Okay.
And then I think.
I see.
Well, you can just restart at page 1. You can't necessarily say, okay, start counting at page 50 or whatever. But like I said, if you're combining it all in one Word, combining two books into one, you don't really have to worry about the page numbers, because Word will take care of that.
Right. It just won't have all the, if you will, whatever the references, like with all the places, would be certain page to page.
That doesn't matter either, because the indexes and the table of contents are all calculated fields, or all calculated sections. As a matter of fact, in Word, you cannot directly edit the table of contents or the indexes at all.
Okay.
If you want to change like a place name or like a heading title, you actually got to go into the hidden codes back in the document for, you know, where it's used.
Okay.
You can't directly edit the table of contents. Well, you can edit it, but as soon as you select the document and hit F9 to update the fields, it's going to overwrite it, whatever changes you made in the table of contents or indexes.
Okay. Well, you gave me something to look at with what you just displayed, so I will look at that. So thank you guys very much.
No.
Now, Stefan, there is an issue like with a marriage certificate that has, of course, the married couple, but then it has both of their parents also mentioned in that certificate. If I do a web merge from Ancestry, it's going to attach it, of course, to the married couple, but then that is also going to be attached to the parents. Now, if I generate the book, that image is going to go in the parents section. And then first, when technically I would prefer it to be in the married couple section and keep it out of the parents section. Or it's just going to be duplicated.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned before and wanted to understand the question from Michael. So if he wanted to have a kind of preferred location, so what you are asking for is you would like to prefer the image to be shown in the family section of the couple and not in the parents section, right?
Yeah.
My issue with this is how should I tell or how should I add an option which tells into which section should the image go, right? So I'm thinking about adding another custom fact type where you could add this, like maybe FBC photo album preferred or something, where you could add this fact type to one member of the couple and link the image to this fact type as well, so that family book creator would be able to detect what preference you have, right? So it's difficult. So how would you specify in Family Tree Maker where you would like to see the image?
Yeah, I can understand that. And then if you say avoid duplicates and not show it, then the image shows with the parents, but then with the married couple, you don't see the document. So
yeah, but if you have this preferred fact settings, then it's the idea that it's just shown with the couple and not with the parents, right? You get a reference at the parent in the parents section to the couple then.
Yeah.
So, but this is still on the list and has not been implemented. And yeah, I'm also not really happy with the idea, but it's a kind of workaround if this would be possible. Right? So I have this request already.
Yeah, that can be kind of a catch-22 because say you have the marriage certificate where you got the parents listed. Well, maybe on one of those parents, they've got the same situation, their marriage certificate, and it lists their parents and stuff. And so if you'd want to attach the person, and if you'd say, okay, FBC preferred media for, say the father, and then also for the son, and the media is all in there, well, you know, it can be a kind of a catch-22, which one gets it when both want the preferred media, you know.
There need to be some rules then, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't envy you, Stefan.
Which sounds like why I don't use web merge to put stuff in. I see a marriage license or marriage certificate only attaching to the groom and bride and groom. The other names are parts of it, but I wouldn't attach the document to them to begin with.
See, I do it because there I finally found the maiden name of the person's mother is in that marriage certificate.
Yeah.
Her maiden name.
Well, then I would still, of the mother or of the bride?
Of the mother of the bride, her maiden name is given in that certificate. So I want to use that fact to her maiden name.
Yeah.
But then it complicates things.
So what you can always do right now is already duplicate the media element, right? Which would mean that you duplicate probably the source citation.
Right. Right.
Yeah, duplicate the source citation, but don't have media on that, and then just
Exactly.
have the media attached to the person. That, yeah.
I think I'll live with the certificate being in the parents section.
Yeah, or create duplicates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Early in the presentation, John, you mentioned about the build, and I've noticed as people come up that they're at build 606.
Yeah.
I'm at build 587. What is the steps I need to do now to get that updated?
Well, in the announcement section, well, actually, since this meeting's gone, I can,
Maybe, John, I will interrupt you. I
Sure.
share my screen and show it just in a second. So when you go to the Family Book Creator website, you may click on support, frequently asked questions, and I think it's number 3 or 4. How do I get program updates?
You've been asked this many times, obviously.
And usually when your computer is online, you get this notification, or you should get a notification about
I think I got that once and didn't do it when I should have.
Yeah, and you get it only once a day. But you can always click here on the FBC download area button, which brings you to the download area. And then you can just click here or there, it doesn't matter, and download the installation package. And just run the installation package, and it's always on the installation package does detect if you are going to do an update or if it's a fresh installation. So it's just one package. There's not an additional update package or something like that. Yeah. Hope this does answer your question.
I think it does. Thank you very much.
So how do I get program updates? It's a special step, and it does mention what you should need to do.
So just to be clear, I should do that while Family Tree Maker and then Book Creator are not open.
Yes, and if it's open, this update process will detect that it's open and requires you to shut it down, or it will ask to reboot your machine. So it's better to just close Family Tree Maker then.
Thank you.
So we'll stop screen sharing again. Okay. This link is, of course, also mentioned in the announcement and the Family Book Creator users group, which just is not on the top right now, but maybe it's going to be on top soon again.
Yeah, it is. I changed it like a couple days ago just for this section, but it's back on top now.
Yeah, so. Fine.
That's a good one to keep right there at the pin. So. Anyone have any more questions? Fiona, I see you talking, but you're muted.
When you start a new tree in Family Tree Maker, do you have to import all the media categories for Family Book Creator again, or is there a quick way of doing it?
There isn't a quick way of doing it. Not unless you'd have a blank tree that had those media categories already in it. So that you just duplicate.
Right, yeah.
So what you could do is export a one-person tree from your main file, and then you'd have the categories.
Oh, right.
Oh.
But then you'd have to start with that one-person tree, then you have to clean it up into a blank tree.
Export it as one person and then import it into a new tree.
Yeah.
Oh,
get rid of the information about the people, and you should have your categories.
Oh, what a clever idea. Thank you.
I'm trying to see that it works.
Yeah.
Export, import.
I think it's a frequently asked question in the other groups too of, why doesn't it remember all my categories in my new trees? And
yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you. Again, read the instructions.
and there's no instruction on that one, but it seems to work.
All right, okay.
And I know that's been a suggested item in Family Tree Maker to have like defaults for a brand new tree, you know, and stuff. And but
I suppose if it was perfect, you wouldn't need a family book creator, would you?
and so
Also, if we all wanted the same thing in the end.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's, well, 15 people on right now, and I'm sure all 15 of us use Family Tree Maker just a little bit differently. You know? So.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is also why it's such a great program, because we can all use it a little bit differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've even done stuff where I marked DNA categories, you know, for use with Chart and Companion. Well, getting that printed out in the book, you know, was kind of meaningless to most people. But so I changed the fact sentence structure in Family Tree Maker that just basically says this person has taken a DNA test. And then have Family Book Creator use the Family Tree Maker sentence structure. So if they have, then it just prints that just one line. Okay, this person's taken a DNA test and moves on to the next stuff, you know. But so then that, you know, family members, and I think it looks nice that way, you know, without giving, you know, that, what, 36 alphanumeric thing that Ancestry does, or the string of letters and numbers that GEDmatch does. And, you know, it's, which as far as a book goes, really is meaningless. So, but just the fact that they took the DNA test, you know, say, hey, maybe I should see how I match that one. So.
Hey, Fiona, I've just done what I suggested doing because I panicked a little bit and said, well, there's better ways. So let me show you what happened. Let's see here. And it did work. Now there's cleanup you have to do.
Yeah.
Now in this one, what I did was just take out of the archive the data file. So these images are showing as no thumbnail because I didn't include the media with it. But you can see here all the media categories are present.
All right, okay.
I do have one person in the tree. And all right, let me.
Suppose you could always create just a dummy person with no media, no sources, and.
Yeah, you could do that, orphan the person, and if you wanted to.
Yeah, export that person, then on the main tree, delete them again.
All right, yeah.
One person.
And even if those people don't have those media facts tags for them, it does export everything, as you say.
Yeah, so for here then, if I had media, I'd delete these media.
Yeah.
And then like you see it in places, it has the place's name associated with that person. You know, you have to do a little bit of cleanup, or you maybe create a dummy person.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
John mentioned.
Yeah.
So this is a way of doing that, getting your media categories.
Oh, wow.
Because,
that might save me some time.
For family book creators, John mentioned before, and that's why there's the text files. They have to be entered exactly as it says, or they don't work.
Now, I usually copy and paste.
Yeah, that's the best way, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, that's going to be.
So that will exporting that one person or making a person with, I'll have to try making the person with nothing attached and see that it works, but I would guess it will probably.
I've got enough people that are spare.
So James?
Yes.
When you've done all that, if I then import that person into my large tree, it will automatically add those categories so that they're available to everyone that's already in the tree?
I would think it would.
Oh, wow.
I hope so, because otherwise I'd have to put 1,000 people back in.
What it does do, which is unfortunate, when you go to sources, these sources may go in also, and you may want to do some cleanup first.
But this depends on your file, James. You could just generate one dummy media element, attach all categories to just this media element, and have nothing else in the files. And you only have to clean up one media element.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So Stefan, when I then import that media man into my tree, all the categories will now be available to everyone else that's in my tree?
It's something I need to test for, to try. So just the idea we developed right now, right?
No. Well, let's.
If it works, it will be well worth it. I do make a lot of small trees. I'm the chairman of a local family history group, and I show people how to do things, and it's quite time consuming then putting all the if I'm producing a little tree for somebody just to show them how it's done, and that'll be really worth the while. It's time consuming putting them all back in again. Oh, thank you. That's worth listening to just for that.
Oh yeah, maybe after this, James or I can try it, and then we can post it in the family book creator group and
I
say,
suppose
okay, yes, it does work. Or
we could post a tree, couldn't we?
Could just post the one-person tree, right? Sure.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah.
Oh yeah, hey.
Do the work for me.
That's just a replacement for the text file.
Yeah.
Or as an additional file.
Yeah.
No, a good idea, Stefan. Yeah, I think I'll do that after I test it to make sure, and then have those two fact types too.
And then when, like I say, when you do a merge, you got to watch out for all the sources and things that may come unintendedly.
No, if you have no sources in the one-person file.
Oh, yeah, you'd have it clean.
Yeah.
I
Have a person named Dummy or Delete Me or something like that.
Media man. Or
I discovered from merging version 16 trees, I was blind to a lot of the things that the new version shows you. And suddenly I had all these sources that had no one linked to them, but I had tens of thousands of source names. But took a long time to clean up. But you get those if you merge a tree, you get all these other sources coming with it. And so merging is sometimes potentially dangerous if the tree you're bringing in is a little sloppy or, has
defects.
These sources don't go away when you get rid of the facts. The sources remain.
Yeah. That's kind of like doing an import from Family Search.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many custom facts, and that mean the exact same thing. But
I think that's what my tree suffers from. I've been using GEDCOMs since they were invented, maybe since Reunion, and I was using Amiga, and all these fact sources, and they come with them, but they're not in what I would call a traditional, they're not a usable way of using them. They're just like, it just says source. So and when you've got a large tree, it's just soul destroying to go through them all. And that's why I think maybe I might just bite the bullet and just what I've done is divided my tree up, because it's quite a large tree, an encompassing tree, all the branches. What I've done is divided them into 4 trees for my grandparents, and when I look at all the defects, it doesn't look quite so bad when you're sorting a quarter of a tree rather than one with got 10,000 names on. So it may be usable bites. So but it's certainly going to be a project. It's been quite a good project for this lockdown, where you can't go anywhere. You can just sit down and sort your tree out.
That's one of the good things about COVID. Yes, we've had time to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Keeping. It's been very enjoyable tonight. I've learned such a lot.
Yeah, it's been a good one.
And then Fiona, there is a Amiga emulator for a PC if you're still interested in.
No way. I was part of the team that transcribed the 1891 census for England when it came out, and I used to put it on sort and go and make the tea and come back and it was still sorting.
James, being you brought up the topic of software for other computers, Is there any progress on Family Book Creator for the Mac?
Steve, it would not go faster if you ask this every time.
As long as it doesn't go slower, I'll keep asking.
Yeah. So Steve, I take it it'd be safe to assume if Stefan's ready for a beta tester, you'd be willing to be a beta tester?
Absolutely.
Steve is already on the list. He does not know.
I am for charting companion now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I'm gonna make a version for the PowerPC processor, because I have a Power Mac. So if you, I'll be a beta tester if you do one for that processor.
But the Commodore 64 edition needs to be done first.
Yeah, well, a friend of mine still has a Commodore 64. That was my first computer. I thought, wow, 64K, man, this sucker has got so much RAM. And now here I got a laptop with 16 gig and think, boy, my next laptop should probably have 32 gig.
Yeah. Never seems to go any faster though, really, at the end of the day.
Well, I was in a discussion on Facebook recently where someone was saying, how much memory should I get? And my answer was, you'll never be unhappy with more.
Yeah.
No.
You might not need it, but if you get less, you'll someday be unhappy.
Yeah, get as much RAM as you can afford.
Now, for the very large books I've made, I've seen Family Tree Maker and Family Book Creator use almost all the 32 gigabyte of RAM in making the book.
Wow, maybe that's why it stopped responding. I think I've only got 8.
I'm glad I bought 64.
I would say 16 is a minimum amount of RAM someone should have.
All right.
If you have a laptop, if you didn't buy it that way, you might not be able to add to it.
No, I have. I took it in, and what they did was put a solid state hard drive in. That speeded it up quite a lot. But he said I didn't need to put any more RAM in. But of course, he's not a family historian. He doesn't have. If he just uses it for specific things, then maybe that's something I might have to look into. It's so cheap now compared to what it was.
Yeah, you might see what's starting when the computer starts. My desktop here that I have is almost using 7 gigabyte of RAM when it first starts up.
Oh.
Well, my 32, 7 is in use by all the little things it adds in or certain.
Yeah.
So if there's unnecessary things to start at startup, you might tell it not to do that.
Yeah,
I think Task Manager can do that. And what is it? Startup and Task Manager. You can tell it maybe not to load certain things.
Yeah. I think I've become quite lazy. I used to build my own computers in the days when you just couldn't go out and buy things. But now I just go to the local store and pick one up. It's just, I've become a little bit lazy in my old age. It just.
I would like to mention, if you see this not responding, for example, while using Microsoft Word and building the index, this does not mean that the computer is not working, right? It just means that the user interface is not responding.
So right.
The software is still working and the computer is busy for sure, but you may get a result. So it's not that you have to wait forever.
Yeah, I have found that if you put the tea on and come back, it's usually something's happening again, a bit like the Amiga 500. Yeah, I mean, if it's got so many pages in, it's bound to take time to sort it all out. And I think clicking on it just irritates it. So I'll just go and leave it. Yeah.
So I have a quick question with all you experienced people. You know, I've been doing all my files, and it's great to be able to produce a file and send it to people. And it's terrific program, by the way. I really think it's terrific. If they're going to print out like an actual hard copy, like a book, did people have recommendations? I mean, I know I could go to Kinko's and just print it. but are there recommendations, or is there one or two main places that is good to go if we want to print it?
There's actually a topic heading of, I think, what is it? Publishers?
Okay.
Publishing.
On the website?
Book publishing, where people
Okay.
discuss that, you know, and their different expenses or experiences. And then also in different parts of the world too.
Right. So that's on the Facebook group?
The Family Book Creators Group.
Right, on Facebook.
Yeah, on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There's a
Thank you.
category called book publishing.
Thank you.
I mean, I've used Lulu Express before. I mean, most of my books I just print.
Yeah, I do.
But I've got an Epson EcoTank printer, so it's very economical. I mean, well, one weekend I had 2 reunions. I literally printed more than a case of paper, and that was double-sided. You know, it took me like a week and a half to start to print everything, but it's like
the binding that's the problem.
Well, actually, I did. I 3-hole punched it, and well, some of it I did take to a local shop to get bound, but but this one book, and I had to print 7 copies of it. It was too big that they'd have to split into like three books, and so I just 3-hole punched it and put it in. Well, I got some of those binder tabs with those metal posts that stick up, and
yeah.
So
I've got a ring binder, but I went onto Amazon, and they do the spiral, the ring binders that go up to 500 sheets.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, but it's quite easy to go over 500 sheets if you've gone back to say 1800. Quite easy to get 500 sheets double-sided.
Yeah.
So it's quite a lot easier just to go to your local copy store and get them to bind it there.
Yeah.
Especially when you're short-sighted like I am, and the rings are black.
Yeah, well, assuming this COVID stuff has died down by next summer, we've got another reunion, and I'm actually looking at like Lulu Express to print a book, and ideally I want to get spiral bound, and I think their cutoff is 470 pages.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I'm going to get this book down to it. This one, it's probably about 520, so I might really have to tweak the media. And I normally don't print the citation media as is, so, but.
So which font face do you use? Maybe switching the font.
It's Verdana, and it's that standard one, but I think I've decreased it 1 point size, and I may try decreasing it like another point size.
Yeah. So if you try, for example, Tahoma, it looks similar to Verdana, but needs less space.
Oh, right.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try that out.
And of course, other fonts are smaller as well. So.
Yeah. And then, yeah, you can tweak the margins and stuff. I've got the margin set for Lulu Express as is. So, I mean, but yeah, it's just the playing game, but there's some media I like printing full page.
Yeah, I think especially if it's a document or something like a military record. If you do it small, you can't. There's no point putting something in that you can't see it, and it's not legible, is it? So
yeah, if it's a newspaper obituary, and if it's like, okay, I can't read that, so
yeah,
if you can't read it, what's the point, you know?
Yeah. Well, certainly if I've been using the British Newspaper Archive, I often just send those I'll print a book out for somebody, but send those separately so that they can see them on a bigger scale, you know, as a PDF. That just solves that problem rather than seeing people. Because you might, there's no point putting it in if they can't see it. And if it's
some of our people, some of the ancestors are vision challenged with our age.
I've been vision challenged since birth. Oh dear.
Well, it's been about an hour and a half, so I'd like to thank everyone for coming, but yeah, it might be a good time to just wrap it up and maybe do this again in a month or two. And
yeah,
so we always seem to have a pretty good turnout.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Well, I've learned a lot. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, John, and James, and Stephen, and Bernie, and Michael.
Okay. Well,
thank all you guys very much. It's really great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and James or I will post a Family Tree Maker file in the groups, once we're sure it works. So
let's try it out.
Look forward to it.
Try it out first.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah.